Okay, so we should be live. Some recording on and video shared. Brilliant. Okay, so hello and welcome to our What's New webinar series. As mentioned in previous sessions, this is designed to summarize and take you through the changes that have been made to Colleague as part of our latest release. So this is release 25.05.03. Apologies, this session was supposed to happen on Friday the 13th. Unfortunately, due to absence, sick leave, it wasn't able to take place during that time, so it was rescheduled to Wednesday 18th to today for 11. If you have any queries, please let me know via the Q&A area in this session. If you can try and keep the queries relevant to the session, i.e. based on the features that are being shown, that would be ideal. This session is also being recorded, and subscribers to the What's New series will be sent a copy of the session afterwards. It's also uploaded on YouTube, and we do a social media post as well. So let's get started. Right. Close that down and bring up the release. Brilliant. Okay, so the release that went out, and it went out on the 7th of June, is 25.05.03, effectively for all of the development work that was delivered in May. And what I'll be doing in this session is going from top down within the session. In terms of seeing release notes, as mentioned many times before, obviously within the homepage or within Colleague in general, there is a help file option on the top right hand side. If you click on that option there, then you get taken to the help file, and you'll have the current releases always in the top left hand side there. We also have a summary video about the release, but if you click on that, it takes you to the release notes, which is basically just a summary document overviewing the functionality of the release in terms of the enhancements made that were significant enhancements, some minor UI kind of tweaks, and ultimately bug fixes as well as part of the build. So I'll get started. To start with then, the first main point, which is the main feature of the build, was the form builder. So when I say the form builder, what I mean is essentially there's an ability now to create essentially another tab or multiple extra tabs on candidates, companies, and contact records. And these tabs can be customizable. Ultimately, completely customizable in terms of the fields that you want on those tabs, the data that you want displayed, and yeah, effectively you can drag and drop around those tabs and create whatever tabs you want. You can also hide the personal summary tab, you can hide the custom fields tab, and basically it gives you the ability to create your own form for candidates, companies, and contacts, which has been asked for some time. So in terms of how that is accessed within the admin area, there's a section called form builder, which if I click on here, by default it will load the for the candidate entity the form that's against your user group. What it basically allows you to do is you can create forms for different user groups as well. So you can create a scenario where for a certain batch of users against a certain user group, they go into a record, they see one set of fields and data. For another set of users in different user group, they go into a record, they see a different set. So it's quite, in terms of from a feature and option perspective, it offers quite a lot. As far as navigating around it, in terms of there's a hole on the user guides area, and on the release notes there's a section for the form builder user guide, which ultimately takes you through how to do the creation of a new form, the updating of forms. So the user guide is there to do that. We'll also be recording a video about it as well, because it really needs its own session ultimately to go through how to do things. But essentially, as a summary of what's different in this release, this new area means that you can, create forms in here. You could add new fields in here. There's page elements that you can include. There's string field, which is basically any text-based field or any alphanumeric field really. Number fields, date fields, lookup fields, and also widgets as well. Widgets are things like the profile is seen as a widget, image and social media. The address is a widget, address display. The notes section, that's a widget. Current employer, recent histories as well. There's an option of showing the recent histories as well. So yeah, there's ultimately lots of functionality that's available through this area, which again I'll cover in greater detail in a video. And say there's also a user guide which has been created with regards to the form builder, which you can find within our home section. You've got a section called user guides in here, and then you'll find at the bottom here form builder, how to use the form builder. Then colleague can click on there to see the form builder. But yeah, effectively more to come on that. There were some initial things that were spotted once we had deployed it, as is the way. So there was then some subsequent tweaks to refine the work. That was mainly around lookup fields and a couple around custom fields. And realistically, there will be some other tweaks and updates that we make to this area over the course of the coming sprints, based on adopters using it, giving their feedback in terms of how to change and edit different things. But it does obviously introduce that functionality of there being a form which you can now completely customize as you want for, again, candidates, companies, and contact records. And that's the form builder. Right, next one along is the, sorry, let's go back to the release notes. Next one along is the hours and duration type. So if I go to a requirement, anyone will do. Effectively, we've for the longest time had the hours field and the duration field as a essentially fixed to be weeks. It's been a numeric field that's fixed at weeks. But now when you are looking at a contract in particular, the hours field is there, but you've also now got a unit of measure. So you can specify the number of hours per day, per week, or per month, just for those clients that do different types of contractual work, some shorter time frames, some longer time frames. And in terms of the hours that you want to store, you have different kind of unit of measures that you specify there. Likewise with duration, again, it's normally been hard coded as being based on weeks. Now you've got it based on days or months. So again, it can be a lot more specific now in terms of the duration of a requirement or duration of a placement when it's made. This is obviously all then carried over into the offer form and into the placement. So when an offer is made, it will now bring through the duration, and again, it will be on the basis of days and weeks. Again, hours, again based on per day, per week, and so on. So that option is there, and that was the update that was made as part of this change. Next one along is the remove option that's been added to view documents. So if I go to the search and I do a fairly standard text criteria search, bring back some records. So effectively what you can now do is when you're reviewing search results using view documents, previously you would review a document and then you would probably flag it to highlight with lights of interest, and then you'd move on to the next record. What you've now got is an option called remove from search. It's this option here. So if you're reviewing a search result, you want to look at their documents, and then you look at this person's document, for example, and you're like, no, that's no good. You can hit to remove from search, and that will remove that record in particular from the search and move on to the next record in the search result. You then look at that record. If that's no good, again, remove from search. So you can filter down and remove records. When I say remove, it's not deleting the record, it's just taking it out of the search result. But it's a way of being able to obviously work through records that are in search results in just a more of a succinct way. So you don't, when you close down the search, then those records that you removed have gone. That it's not a case that you've now got to remember that one was no good, that one, and so on. You can just remove it as you go. So that's the update that's been made there. Undo markers lever, that's a fairly simple one, really. I mean, ultimately, I'm going to need to go to a lever record. let's go into this record here. Yeah, effectively, when you're in a leaver now, if that contact was to return to that business or they were marked as leaver in error, you've now got an option to undo mark as leaver, which sort of does exactly what it says really. You click on that option, asks if you want to undo it, hit OK, and it will undo the mark as leaver option. So yeah, effectively, if you've got that scenario now of a contact leaving a company and then coming back and you want to undo mark as leaver, you can do that. Or if it's been marked as a leaver in error, again, you can undo that mark as leaver, and that will create history, obviously, to highlight the fact that that person left or returned. Right, next one along is user group filter on the visibility of history codes. So effectively, when you are, if I go to admin and go to lookups, so this option got added into history codes. And it's this option here, visible to user groups. So if I select on, I don't know, say commission split updated maybe. So obviously there's histories that get created against records when you're go into a record here and you go histories. Obviously a history will have a batch of records associated to it, a batch of histories associated to it based on different workflows that have been run, things like that. And it might be that there are certain history codes that it's not relevant for certain users to see, or I'm thinking either placement related history codes, for example, or bank detail information, timesheet processing, invoice processing, so anything like that. If it's not appropriate for certain users to see that type of information against the candidate, what you do have now is this option to be able to specify which histories are visible to different different user groups. So effectively you can work your way through these histories and just decide which histories, and ultimately if none are selected, then they'll all be visible, and as this was rolled out, none would be selected because it's just an extra option that's been added. But if you wanted to go into here and just make it so that only certain people could see a certain type of history, that option is there to do that now. Visible to user groups, you'd select the user groups that would be visible, and then for the ones that are selected, they can see it. For the ones that are not selected, they can no longer see it. So that's the option that's been added there. Next one along was a Teams filter. So if I go back to Teams here, so essentially the Teams area is there to list off, it's there to create virtual teams for reporting structures, for ownership structures, and ultimately you can create a team that might be just everyone, and then you also might create another team which is maybe just your account managers, another team which is maybe just your resources or just your recruiters, just management maybe, there might be another team. But effectively within here you can have lots of different team structures in place, and users can be added into multiple teams. But what we've added here is the ability to filter those users by whether or not they are active or not active, and also whether or not they're licensed as well. Just as another way of helping in terms of the kind of maintenance of this thing. So obviously users come and go. You may need to unlicense people and then find them and then move them from one team to another. That option is obviously there to do that. You've got the move team user option as well, has been updated. So when you select that, again, you get to filter it based on active or licensed users or seeing everyone. That's just this drop down menu, whether or not you're seeing absolutely everyone or whether or not you just want to see maybe licensed users, in which case this drop down filters quite significantly based on only the people that are licensed on the system. So that's just to help with the kind of maintenance of this area in general, really. That's that. Next one along is an API update, which I can't really demonstrate. It's the ability to edit histories via the API call. That function was added, and yeah, effectively, it's just another option that's been made available through the API. We continue to refine the API based on integrations and what third parties need from the system. In this case, it was the need to edit a history. And the next one along is the user group filter, been added to notes maintenance. So again, if we go to the admin area, we go to notes. Notes as a section, it basically gives you a means to repopulate a notes section. So if there are a list of questions that should be asked when you're onboarding a candidate, or if there's a process that needs to be followed, or a format maybe to a job description that it needs to be followed, effectively this is where you could refill that information, and then when a new record is being created, that text that's been added in here would be automatically populated into that record as part of it being created. But it's been requested that in certain scenarios, certain tabs shouldn't be visible to certain user groups, and also sometimes it's relevant that those tabs are populated for some people, not for others. So yeah, effectively we've got again this user groups filter. So it's just this sort of familiar theme of filtering down functionality based on what user groups that person is within. So within user groups, again, if no one's selected, everyone will see the note, and if there's obviously text in there, everyone will see that text being pre-populated into new records that are created. If it's a case that this tab should only be seen by certain users and the text should only come through for certain users, you would obviously assign that user group to that particular tab, and then that tab then wouldn't be visible to that other users. So it's to be used in that scenario. So that's the notes section. Next one along is updating bank details. So if we go back to a candidate record, it's a contact, that's a requirement. I'll go to, let's pick on a new candidate here. That'll do. So when you are editing bank details now, it used to just have a history that would say bank details amended, which doesn't really give you anything to work with. These are obviously Duff bank information, but yeah, effectively what you can now do is when you're editing bank information, and so on, effectively the update and the edit will create a history which gives some information to say that that the history was the bank detail was updated. So it would say bank detail was updated, the sort code was changed, the bank name was changed. When you're dealing with obviously sort codes and account numbers being changed, it's not going to say what it changed from and to, but for all other fields, so not sort codes, not account numbers, not IBANs or SWIFT codes, but for all of the bank information, the address, that kind of thing, that it'll advise what it changed from and to as part of that bank detail being updated. Obviously the sort code or the account number, that sort of bank detail information is being stored encrypted on the system, so we don't show that within the history. But this is another scenario where that this might be a history code that is hidden from certain users and visible to others because it's not relevant for them to see that sort of thing. The account name will now be a default option. So again, if I go back to that candidate, and let's say we were, that's payment details, bank details. Let's say we're doing add bank detail. Effectively the bank name and the account name are mandatory fields. The sort code and account number is one group of mandatory fields. So that's one set. Or an alternative set is the IBAN or SWIFT code. So when you're adding an account number, if you've got an IBAN and SWIFT code, then it won't look for a sort code and account number. If you've got a sort code and account number, it won't look for an IBAN and SWIFT code. But one of those sets needs to be complete. But the account name and the bank name obviously are mandatory fields just in their own right. In terms of non-active tabs, so again, going back to notes, so obviously within the notes maintenance area in admin, you can specify whether or not the tab is active, and yeah, obviously if the tab is not active, then you can obviously set that to no, and then when you're in a candidate record, for example, on the notes tab, you then only see the active tabs. In the search area, it used to just list off all of the tabs that are active regardless in this area, so it would show all the tabs that are, on it would show these tabs, for example, but now it's been updated to obviously not show those if they're not active. Oh, I've got too many tabs open. Sorry, I lost myself there. Yeah, they'll if you don't see the tabs there, because they're non-active, they'll be hidden now. The remove document option added to the checklist portal. So again, for those that aren't aware, we have a portal for candidates and for contacts that gets branded based on different clients, what they need. But effectively, you can send candidates credentials. That candidate can log into an interface, and from there they can obviously upload their documents. They can, if you want them to, edit their edit their user record. If they've got placements, obviously it's for submitting timesheets and such. But the checklist area was a new area that we added recently, and we've added the option to remove document within that area. So previously you could upload a document, but you couldn't remove it, which is an oversight really. So yeah, you can now remove the document. You also download it as well. But obviously this gives a candidate, or more to the point, this gives a client the means to create a checklist which a candidate can then follow when they're being onboarded. You can send them their credentials, they can go to the checklist, they can upload their documentation to this area, and effectively you're then informed when they make those updates, and it obviously helps with the onboarding process. But the remove option is the component that got added there. Next one along is attaching history document. Now request a document ID. So this is off the back of the last thing we did, release, we introduced this option. If we go to here, so when you're on the history of a record, you go to an email that's got an attachment. For example, this attachment. So historically, the attached document option that we added would just add the document to the record. Now, when you click that, it gives you this option to select the document type that document should be assigned. And then based on the selection of that document type, it will then assign that. And also, if there are default indexes associated with that document type, it would obviously attach that document to the record as well. So that's how you're able to obviously attach documents from history into the documents of the record, and obviously it'll be shown. And applicant source, that's just a go to here. Applicant source was and is a field option that's available here, but this was being called candidate source in error when it's applicant source. So yeah, it got relabeled to be called applicant source. It's no more complicated than that really. So the applicant source option of the candidate is being shown there, and that's obviously the applicant source against the candidate. Right. Bug fixes. We don't normally go through bug fixes as part of this session, but yeah, target percentage cap. So that's on the home page. If you had a target percentage that went over 100%, previously it would cap out 100%. It now goes to the percentage that's related to how far you've gone over target. So that's just an update that was made there, and obviously the rest of them are just things that were spotted, things that were raised, and things that have been subsequently fixed, and that's sort of an ongoing cycle as part of software, obviously. But yeah, that's the update in relation to 25.05.03. Our next build will be 25.06.02. That's for the work done in June, although realistically it will be into July when we're doing that update. But obviously I'll send you round updates on the changes that were made as part of that release, and we'll post out on social media as those changes come. If I just check. Sorry, just check the Q&A. Yeah, that's clear. Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, and see you again next time.